Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the fight of the century. In the red corner, weighing in at 1 Shaquille O'Neal, we have Miguel Megusto. And in the blue corner, or whichever color I didn't already say, weighing in at 2 Shaquille O'Neal shoes, we have Glenjamin Button. It's the fight of the century. And the bell rings. Oh, there goes Miguel Megusto with a right hook and a left hook. Oh, and Glenjamin coming in with the spoiler. The following podcast contains spoilers for the harder they fall. You have been warned. Come on, gather around, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Benjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Megusto. And they're off to the races. God damn, they're so fast. It turned British real
Completely different. Completely different sport.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes. How are you doing?
I am not too bad. I'm fresh off of a little house-sitting weekend. Sleeping on my mom's bed while she was at the beach partying her life away for her birthday. And man, that woman has the softest bed that I cannot stand. My poor back, my poor spine. Please, call a doctor. Ouch. So my back hurts a little bit, but I'm sure yours does too when you have to carry the show like you do, Mike.
Always. Speaking
time.
of carrying the show, how many movies did you watch this week?
And do you really need to guess? Or?
No. Two?
Two. I had done a little bit of while the house sitting. I was helping a buddy out and like editing some videos for him from Twitch. And then I had movies on in the background, but I never actually sat through and watched. She had cable, so I just put on one of those old channels, like with John Wayne movies and shit. So I was
like TCM
that'll
or
do.
something.
Yeah, just something to put on in the background. So barely watched some like John Wayne movies, and barely started the Gray Man with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. But I watched Nope, which we have a movie review out. It's in the existence. I finished Stranger Things season 4. I genuinely like it. I know I said the last couple times that I had been like falling asleep during the episodes. That doesn't like disregard the fact that it was good. It's second best season in my opinion. Season 3 is still kick ass. But 4 was fantastic. I'm pretty sure they're coming out with another like half season or some shit. I'm not sure how they're doing it. But
they're probably gonna milk it dry like they do everything.
And then just for more like casual background like shit while I was doing stuff, I put on the show Gypsy. That is a Netflix original and was apparently the fastest canceled Netflix show as well. I did not know that until I started watching it.
I mean, if it's a Netflix show, Gypsy has been again, excuse me for using the term, but it is technically a racial slur. So I'm not surprised. But it's
about a white woman, so that's just great.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you could consider. I think I forget what their actual like name is. The people who are considered gypsies usually are from Romania or around Romania, and I forget what their name is. So I'm not going to try to figure it out. But I think they're technically white, if you could consider that. But
I think I could consider it. We'll see though. But as far as the show goes, I mean, it didn't seem that bad. Like it was kind of holding my attention while I was watching or like editing and stuff like that. But it didn't seem that bad. I only got halfway through, I think. But it is what it is. Oh well. At least I don't have to watch 8 seasons of this one show. That's mainly the reason I started it, just because I could have it on the background and not give a shit. But I thought it was decent so far. I'm on like episode 5, I think. So maybe it gets
it's got
really
a lot
shitty.
of people in it.
Yeah, it's
like Naomi Watts, Billy Crudup, Carl Glusman, Lucy Boynton. Yeah, a lot of people. Cool.
I mean, the characters in it are kind of shitty, but like overall, it's a pretty decent show.
Yeah.
But anyway, after that, I came home, I worked, and then we watched The Harder They Fall. But Mike, what did you, my little scandalous, my little handsome man, what did you watch?
I had a pretty light week for me. I watched 4 movies, one of 5 if you include a rewatch of one movie that I watched twice in 1 week. The first one, I rewatched The Sandlot, with my son, because I'm just trying to find movies that are not Encanto to watch with him. So I'm just putting on everything I grew up with as a child, and he's been liking them.
And Sandlot?
The Sandlot still holds up. I don't care what anyone says. Like, it's
What's hilarious is we just had a conversation, not you and I, but like me and somebody else had a conversation recently about how I've never watched Sandlot and that they think I'm a piece of shit for not. And now your son has watched it before I have, which
I don't
is
think
even
you're a
more
piece of
funny.
shit. I think you just didn't have a childhood.
Yeah.
But
True.
no, I honestly don't know if it would hold up the same for someone watching it as for the first time as an adult.
Yeah.
But like having the nostalgia for it, and also the jokes still land, as long as you accept the camp that is there. Like there's one scene where the whole thing, they're trying to get this ball back from a yard with a mean dog in it, and there's one kid's like on a pulley system, and the dog like runs towards him, so they pull him up real quick, and he's just screaming, and then he puts his finger to his lips and goes. So it's just it's like stupid cartoon 90s humor. So if you go in accepting that, you're probably gonna have a good time. But yeah, rewatch The Sandlot. Classic. It's a classic. Then I watched Nope, which we have a review for on our YouTubes. Yep. And then I rewatched Nope 2 days later because I had some free time and wanted to see a movie and had either seen everything or had no interest in seeing something. So I visited our good friend John Clark at the movie theater he works at. He got me in for free like the gent he is, and he also got me a free popcorn.
Scholar. Oh my God, Scholar and Gentleman.
Yes. And not only did he give me a free ticket, he blocked off the 2 seats next to me so no one would sit next to me.
Oh my God, it's like he knows
great.
you.
He wine and dined me as far as
He seriously did.
Yeah. But yeah, Nope is a movie that we have a review for, and I might hate it. So you'll have to see our review for
Might
that.
have to.
Then I watched The Harder They Fall, which we're going to get into in just a minute. And then I watched Ang Lee's Lust Caution, which is a movie about a spy who is tasked with seducing an enemy. And I really, 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 really liked it until the end. And I don't want to say I hated the end, but it was just a little too out of left field for me. And made the woman look not great. And like she's not supposed to look great, but like without giving anything away, it makes her look like a materialistic piece of shit, in my opinion. I didn't think that if she did indeed fall in love with the guy, it didn't feel like she did until that point.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, the ending is not great, but the rest of it is fantastic. Just a really weak ending, in my opinion. But yeah, that's that. And that wasn't for the 1001 movies. That was
just you?
That was just me watching
crazy
on,
man.
on Netflix DVD, because they still send you DVDs if you want to.
They do. They do.
Yes, because I'm old school like that. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into The Harder They Fall.
I got a position I want you to fill. Now, it's not the usual press agent's routine. It's an important job that calls for an important man that pays important money, and I think you're important. Interested?
Well, I didn't come here to work out.
All righty. Now, look, the fight... George! What's he doing?
Getting ready, Mr. Benko.
Well, tell him to hurry it up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Eddie, the fight game in this country is falling apart. The boys are all getting too smart. They all want to go to college. They want to become doctors. They want to become lawyers. They don't want to fight for a living. So I sent a couple of the boys abroad to find me some new material. I think they came up with a winner. He just got off the boat this morning. The guy's name is Toro Marino.
Toro Marino. I never heard of him.
Well, I told you he's new, didn't I?
An ex-sports writer is hired by a shady fight promoter to promote his latest find, an unknown but easily exploitable rising star from Argentina.
Yes, directed by Mark Robson, based on the novel by Bud Schulberg, and written for the screen by Philip Jordan. It is starring Humphrey Bogart, Rod Steiger, Jan Sterling, Mike Lane, Max Baer, Jersey Joe Walcott, Edward Andrews, Harold J. Stone, a bunch of people. that are in there that we probably don't know most of them because it's an older film.
Yeah.
But Humphrey Bogart, he's the man. I love Humphrey Bogart. So is Rod Steiger is also the man. He's the bad guy in this, but he's still got a great performance. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect from this. And honestly, this movie was kind of ahead of its time as far as like discussing brain injuries goes.
For real. I was kind of surprised about that, like completely, honestly.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
But yeah, this was an interesting one for me too. I honestly I did not know what to expect. I think I've only watched, I mean, besides the one we had talked about before, like one other Humphrey Bogart movie, and I don't even think I finished it. So like everybody else in this is just relatively new to me.
Yeah.
And you know how I am with the classics. You know, it's always, you never know. It's just a mixed basket.
You never do know. I'm not a huge fan of boxing, so it takes a lot for me to like a boxing movie. Like, I only like Rocky because I'm contractually obligated to live in the Philadelphia area.
Yep.
Like, it's a good underdog movie, but I couldn't give a shit about the boxing. I could not give any less of a shit about the boxing. Boxing is a dumb... You need talent for it. I want to be very clear about that. But the idea of boxing as a sport, to me, is just incredibly stupid. Am I hypocritical for also loving fights in ice hockey? Yes, probably. But to me, it is slightly different because the fights in ice hockey are not as damaging as boxing fights are.
Yeah.
And they also kind of just happen in the heat of the moment and aren't just fights for fighting's sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's not the whole primary thing of when you go to watch hockey.
Yes, exactly. Like, I like hockey and the fights are cool. But like if I go to a hockey game without fights, it's still pretty cool. But it's so it takes a lot for me to get on board with boxing movies. And honestly, when they started talking about like the whole mental illness aspect of it, with the one sports reporter showed Humphrey Bogart's character that interview with that old boxer he had. When that came on, I knew we were in for like a different kind of boxing movie. Especially for that time when they were what 60 years away from knowing, maybe 70 years away from knowing what CTE is.
Yeah.
And just still talking about how there's lasting effects for boxing. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought it was a noble effort by the director and writers to really like show how these, especially back then, how boxers were exploited by people like Rod Steiger's character.
It's something you would expect more from like the 70s even. It's just for that sort of information and stuff like that.
Yeah, because with like is it this 50s, right?
Yep, 56.
Yeah, 56. So in 56 and the 40s and 50s were all about like glamour and glitz, and you had your noirs and everything, but even those were kind of glamorous.
Yeah.
And where this was very unglamorous, and I really appreciated that aspect. But I still wasn't sure how to feel after the first 10-15 minutes when you first see Toro, the Argentinian boxer Toro Marino. You see him box, and he's so bad that it's kind of funny. And I wasn't sure at that point if this was supposed to be a comedy or not. And
it was rough. A lot of not even just the first like 10-minute fight scene. A lot of them were kind of rough, just because we're so like used to every like boxing match like nowadays, like Southpaw and Creed and stuff like that, actually being like hits and stuff like that. And then going to a movie like this, and then they're absolutely whiffing or just kind of hugging each other a lot.
Or they're hitting, and you can tell that it's not the best. However, I will say in the final fight that Toro has where he gets his ass handed to him.
Oh yeah, that one.
That one looked real, and then also the makeup in it was really good. If that was makeup, like part of me might be wondering if they just
homie actually got his ass beat for a paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, he's Mike Lane had a pretty storied career. So, and the guy who played Buddy Brannon, he was actually a boxer, Max Baer.
So maybe it was like a whole Creed story.
Yeah, he's so Max Baer is the boxer. Actually, I think I could be wrong. I think Apollo Creed dying in Rocky, I want to say it's 4, was kind of based on Max Baer, because Max Baer actually killed a guy in the ring when he was in his early 20s.
Oh wow.
And in Cinderella Man, it's based on a true boxer who fights Max Baer, and they make Max Baer to be out this huge monster. But when Max Baer actually found out he killed a guy, he broke down in tears and like couldn't be consoled or anything. So like, it's a shame that he's been vilified, but at least by modern cinema, he was obviously hired for stuff here.
It's even weirder in this one then, because technically he kind of kills a guy.
Max Baer doesn't. Mike Lane does, the guy who plays Toro Marino.
Yeah, well, I think in this, he was like, I want it to be known that Toro didn't do shit. I'm the one who basically got him on that cliff, and then he's just pushed him off.
Yeah, he fought him before Toro did. That's right, you're right. So, yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure that was like 30 years removed, so he'd probably gone over it a little bit. But, you know, I still think it's pretty interesting.
Oh, this is actually, he died 3 years after this movie came out.
Max Baer did?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he
I
did.
think if he did fight in the 20s, then it was probably 30 years off.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. But it's a. I just really enjoyed this movie. It was a lot more about the morals around fighting than I thought it was going to be. And Rod Steiger, I love Rod Steiger because he plays such a good villain.
Oh man, you mean Dick Nick in this movie?
Did someone call him that, or did you call
me
him that?
right
Dick
now?
Nick.
Oh,
yeah,
what a
he was a
dick.
major asshole. Like when they were going over like the money for everything, and they just kept deducting things.
Yep.
I was like, oh God, why are you doing
Tilly
this?
ended up with like $29 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 47 or something like that. But yeah, he plays a great asshole, and and just great performances all around. There is no better Humphrey Bogart than an angry Humphrey Bogart, in my opinion. Like when he found out that he was only paying him $47, and he shut that cabinet door. Ooh, it scared me a little bit. I was like, oh.
I feel like the few movies I've seen with him, I feel like his signature like angry moment is like when he like takes his jacket and kind of just throws it or like whips it or something like that. He's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
That's at least the 2 or 3 movies that I've seen from it. It's just always like, oh, that's his move. Like he whipped the jacket.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors from classic films. And he actually died the year after this came out in 1957, which is a shame because he was a great actor. One of my favorite movies, Treasure of the Sierra Madre. He's in, and of course he's in Casablanca, The African Queen. He's in a lot of movies, Maltese Falcon, which we reviewed earlier. But yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's a standard.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward movie. Yeah, but it really. I felt so bad for Toro in this because, you know, it kind of reminded me of The Hustle or The Hustler.
Yeah.
The Hustle, the one with Adam Sandler. Is that The Hustle? Yeah.
Yeah.
They were, you know, just kind of coming over with trusting someone fully that they are in it for your best interest, only to feel like you're getting dicked over. And those stories always like are hard for me to watch because I hate it when people get dicked
especially,
over.
What'd you pay me for?
Oh, you'll find out later.
Oh. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, especially since Toro, and his like manager at like the time had no idea any of these fights were scripted or anything like that. So he's out there thinking he's the shit, and then he gets his ass beat by just his boxing trainer, just like his sparring partner, and who's like 60-year-old dude. It's crazy. And then he actually thinks at one point he kills a dude. It's kind of heartbreaking. I wish there was more of the relationship building between Toro and Humphrey Bogart's character.
Agreed, yeah.
Versus the kind of obviously they didn't have like stunt doubles or anything, so they didn't have any choreography as far as fighting goes. They probably were just like, all right, just go in there and throw some fists at each other and actually don't hit each other in the face or whatever. But Jesus Christ, a lot of the matches just kind of look like not professional boxers boxing each other, of course.
Yeah. It looks like amateur boxers holding back a lot to make sure they don't hurt the other guy.
Which, I mean, understandable for its film. But it takes away a little bit. But you really, with that, you kind of wish that there was more relationship building as far as it goes. But, this movie is great. It had a bunch of great characters in it. And it was just packed a punch, shall I say. Jesus Christ.
I would have even liked to see some of Toro Marino's backstory.
Even him hanging out with his mom or something like that.
Yeah, like
in the
they
past.
opened with him coming to America on the boat and everything. They showed him getting off the boat. I would have liked to see his life in Argentina a little bit. Not a lot, maybe like 10, 15 minutes. Nothing that would really pad the runtime too much. But, overall, this was just a story about morality than anything. And, having compassion for guys who get their heads beaten for a living and because everyone other than Humphrey Bogart was calling them bums, like, oh, they don't want to work, they don't want to do anything. It was like they literally, after getting their heads hit for a living, do not have the capacity to do any other work.
Yep.
And it's just nice to see in the 50s a movie that recognized that when so many other people back then would have just, shrugged it off and been like, whatever. It was nice to see Humphrey Bogart
my
on the
brain's
good
leaking
side.
out of my ears. Damn.
Yeah, I don't need those brains.
You wipe that off.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it for the most part. But yeah, it is straightforward, so I don't have too much else to say.
You and I both.
Yeah. So that does it for a review for The Harder They Fall. That brings us to our judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFL shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. This was a streaming roulette, but I'll go first. I really liked it. I thought it was much better than I thought it was going to be. Really, the only part I didn't like about it was the boxing aspect.
Yeah.
But also, without the boxing aspect, it would not have the human aspect of empathy and trying to do what's right by someone who is essentially a modern day gladiator. So yeah, it was surprising in that sense. So I would say it does go on the shelf.
I enjoyed it for the most part. And it's really hard coming right off of Sophie's Choice and saying no to that one and then would be saying yes to this one. So I'm stuck in quite a pickle, I must say. But I can throw this little wrench in there. I think for its time, it was ahead of its time on most of the parts that we discussed. And that I could be obliged to say, yes, it would go on the shelf because of that. And the relationship between, I wish there was more between Toro and Humphrey Bogart, but there wasn't. But I would say it's enough to make me want to put it on the shelf.
So that's a yes then?
I would say. Yeah.
Ooh, reluctant yes, but a yes nonetheless.
Reluctant, but yes.
I'll take it. So The Harder They Fall doesn't make it on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our assignment for next week. Glenn, I found out that you have zero joy in your life.
None.
None.
I live day to day, wisping away in whispers of wind.
Wisping away.
Standing.
So admittedly, the movie I have picked is only available for rent, which is why I sent you
that makes so much
$3.99
sense.
plus tax, plus the 6% tax for sales. Unfortunately, everyone else is going to have to purchase their own rent for this. However, if you're going to spend $3.99 plus sales tax anywhere, this is probably the best place to do it because this movie has brought me so much joy in my life. It is called The Jerk, starring Steve Martin.
It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
Meet Nathan Johnson. He's poor.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
And he's eager.
This is the kind of music that tells me to go out there and be somebody! But Nathan...
Let him go.
Traveling down that lonely road, seeking fortune.
Actual live weight guessing. Take a chance and win something.
Finding
The
fame.
new phone book's here! The new phone book's here!
Johnson, Navenar. Sounds like a typical...
And learning about love from a perfect master. Making new friends
Die, milkmaid!
with an instinctive flair.
He hates these cans! Stay away from the cans!
I actually should have saw that coming. I don't know why I didn't.
The Jerk. A simple-minded, sheltered country boy suddenly decides to leave his family home to experience life in the big city, where his naivete is both his best friend and his worst enemy. It is directed by Carl Reiner, written by Steve Martin, Carl Gottlieb, and Michael Eliash. It is starring Steve Martin, Bernadette Peters, Caitlin Adams, and Mabel King, as well as several others that you will recognize throughout. And again, that is only available to rent, or if you have Showtime, it's on Showtime as well. I do not have Showtime, and I'm assuming Glenn doesn't, which is why I sent him $3.99 plus sales tax. So yes, I apologize that purchase. But when I found out that Glenn has not seen this, I could not stand by and let that go. So
he literally yelled at me in all caps.
I did yell at him because
it had to be done.
Fair warning. The opening of this movie might shock some people in 2022. I'm not going to tell you why, but when you watch it, it makes it better. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. We'll talk about it in next week's episode. It is not offensive, even though it seems offensive at first. Just saying that. Yeah. So just stick through that first line. Don't turn it off after that first line, because it's good. Trust me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, to clarify, there are no slurs thrown there. It's just what Steve Martin says.
Digging the hole
might make some of the more cautious people in 2022 question it, but I assure you, it is not an offensive film. It is just someone who's very, very stupid. Mm-hmm. So there's that. So The Jerk is our assignment for next week. Again, best $3.99 plus sales tax you will ever spend. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_Film_Review. Twitter, Keystone_Film. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I'm Glenn KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch The Jerk, starring Steve Martin. Yeah.
Yes, our second Steve Martin film this year.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.